The illusion of control. Why we think we're in charge. Introduction. The comfort of control. We like to believe we're in control, that our decisions shape our destiny, that our effort guarantees results, that our plans determine outcomes. This belief is comforting. It gives us stability in an unpredictable world. It helps us wake up every morning with purpose. But what if much of that control is an illusion? What if the mind clings to control not because it's true, but because it's necessary for survival? Today we're going to explore one of the most powerful psychological ideas ever studied, the illusion of control. Why we think we're in charge, why we need to believe we are, and what happens when reality quietly proves otherwise. This is not a speech about hopelessness. This is a speech about awareness, because once you understand where control ends, real power begins. What is the illusion of control? The illusion of control is a cognitive bias. It's the tendency to overestimate our influence over events that are largely determined by chance, complexity, or external forces. In simple terms, we think we're driving, when often we're just steering a small wheel on a massive machine. Psychologists first identified this phenomenon when people consistently believed they could influence random outcomes, like dice rolls, lotteries, or stock markets, simply because they felt involved. If someone chooses their own lottery numbers, they feel more confident than if numbers are assigned randomly, even though the odds are identical. Why? Because involvement creates the feeling of control, and the human brain mistakes feeling for fact. Why the mind craves control. Control is not a luxury, it's a survival mechanism. Our ancestors lived in dangerous environments. Uncertainty meant death. The brain evolved to reduce uncertainty at all costs. Control provides predictability, safety, meaning, emotional stability. When we believe we're in control, stress decreases. When control disappears, anxiety explodes. That's why people panic during natural disasters, economic crashes, sudden illness, relationship breakdowns. Not because pain exists, but because control vanished without warning. The illusion of control acts like a psychological shield. It protects us from the terror of randomness. The myth of total personal responsibility. Modern culture glorifies control. You can be anything you want. Success is 100% mindset. If you failed, you didn't try hard enough. These messages sound empowering, but they're also misleading. They ignore luck, timing, environment, genetics, economic conditions, social systems. Two people can work equally hard. One succeeds, the other doesn't. Was one better, or did unseen variables tip the scale? We don't like asking that question because it threatens the illusion. How control becomes an ego trap. The illusion of control feeds the ego. When things go right, I earned this. When things go wrong, something external sabotaged me. This bias protects self-esteem but blocks growth. Because if you believe you control everything, then failure feels like a personal flaw. And when failure feels personal, people deny reality, blame others, rationalize mistakes, repeat destructive patterns. True growth requires acknowledging limits. Ironically, accepting less control makes you wiser, not weaker. Control versus influence, a crucial distinction. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't control outcomes. You control actions and responses. The universe handles the rest. You can prepare, learn, practice, improve, show up consistently, but you cannot control how others react, when opportunity arrives, whether effort converts to success, random disruptions. Confusing influence with control leads to frustration. Understanding the difference leads to peace. Why smart people fall for the illusion. Education doesn't protect against this bias. In fact, intelligent people are sometimes more vulnerable. Why? Because intelligence improves rationalization. When outcomes are random, the mind invents explanations. I had a system. I sensed the pattern. I knew this would happen. The brain hates admitting, I don't know, so it rewrites history. This is why investors believed they predicted markets, why gamblers believed they're due, why people stay in toxic relationships believing they can change others. The control paradox. Here's the paradox. The more desperately you try to control life, the more out of control you feel. Micromanaging everything leads to anxiety, burnout, obsession, fear of uncertainty. People who accept uncertainty tend to adapt faster, recover quicker, stay emotionally stable, make better long-term decisions. Letting go of false control doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing realistic control over imaginary dominance. How the illusion shapes relationships. In relationships, the illusion of control appears as trying to change someone, expecting consistency from unstable people, believing love guarantees loyalty. You can give your best. You cannot control another person's choices. Many heartbreaks don't come from loss, they come from shattered assumptions of control. Acceptance doesn't prevent pain, but it prevents self-destruction. Career, success, and randomness. Success stories are often edited. We hear about discipline, vision, hard work. We rarely hear about right place, right time, lucky breaks, people who failed despite doing everything right. This doesn't mean effort is useless. It means effort is necessary but not sufficient. Understanding this keeps you humble when you win and resilient when you lose. Why letting go feels so scary? Letting go of control feels like standing at the edge of chaos, because the brain asks, if I'm not in charge, who is? The answer is uncomfortable. No one. Life is not a machine, it's a dynamic system. Uncertainty isn't a flaw, it's a feature. Once you stop fighting uncertainty, you stop exhausting yourself against reality. The freedom beyond control. When you release the illusion of control, you stop blaming yourself for everything. You stop blaming others for everything. You focus on what's actually in your hands. You become more adaptable, more patient, more emotionally intelligent, more grounded. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need courage. Real power comes from alignment, not control. Control tries to force reality. Alignment works with it. Instead of asking, how do I dominate outcomes, ask, how do I respond wisely to whatever happens? This shift changes everything. Because life doesn't reward control, it rewards flexibility. Final reflection. Who's really in charge? So, are we in charge? Yes and no. You are in charge of your effort, your values, your integrity, your response. You are not in charge of outcomes, people, timing, fate. And that's okay, because life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be navigated. When you stop trying to dominate the river, you learn how to swim. And that's when real strength begins. The brain as a prediction machine. The human brain is not designed to see reality as it is designed to predict. Every second, your brain is guessing what will happen next, not based on truth, but on patterns from the past. Control feels real because prediction feels accurate. When your predictions work, you feel intelligent, you feel powerful, you feel in charge. But when reality breaks the pattern, when something unexpected happens, the brain experiences shock. This is why surprises feel emotional, not because they're dramatic, but because they violate prediction. Control is simply the belief that prediction equals certainty. It never did. Why uncertainty feels like a threat. Uncertainty activates the same brain regions as physical danger. To the nervous system, not knowing equals unsafe. Unpredictable equals uncontrollable. Uncontrollable equals dangerous. That's why people cling to routines, beliefs, identities, even toxic situations. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. The illusion of control keeps people stuck, not because it's logical, but because it feels protective. Control addiction, when safety becomes a prison. Control can become addictive. People addicted to control often overthink constantly, plan excessively, micromanage others, struggle to relax, fear spontaneity. They confuse control with responsibility, but control addiction is rooted in fear, not strength. It says, if I don't control everything, everything will fall apart. Yet life always finds a way to fall apart anyway. The ego's relationship with control. The ego thrives on control. The ego needs predictability, identity, validation, cause and effect stories. The ego asks, who am I? What do I deserve? Why did this happen to me? Control gives the ego a narrative. Without control, the ego dissolves. That's why surrender feels like death, because to the ego, it is. Why we personalize random events. A major feature of the illusion of control is personalization. When something happens, the mind asks, what does this say about me? But most events are not personal, they're situational. The rain didn't fall for you, the opportunity didn't appear because of you, the loss didn't happen to punish you. Yet the mind interprets everything through identity. This creates unnecessary suffering. Control and the fear of meaninglessness. Another reason we cling to control is meaning. If we're not in charge, then what's the point? But meaning doesn't require control. Meaning requires engagement. You don't need to control the story to play your role fully. Actors don't write the script, yet their performance matters. Life works the same way. The difference between surrender and passivity. Let's be clear, surrender is not giving up. Surrender is not laziness. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is accurate perception. It's seeing what you can change, what you can't, and acting wisely within that boundary. Passivity avoids effort. Surrender avoids illusion. There's a huge difference. Why letting go feels like falling. When control disappears, people describe the sensation as falling. That's because control gave the illusion of ground, but there was never ground, only movement. Life doesn't stand still, it flows. Once you stop resisting the flow, falling becomes floating. The Stoic insight on control. Ancient Stoic philosophers understood this deeply. They taught, focus only on what is up to you. What's up to you? Your thoughts, your actions, your values. What isn't? Opinions, events. Peace comes from respecting that boundary. Most suffering comes from crossing it. Modern society and the control obsession. Technology increased the illusion of control. We can track everything, measure everything, predict behavior, optimize performance. Yet anxiety is higher than ever. Why? Because control expanded faster than wisdom. We now expect control over emotions, relationships, careers, happiness. When life doesn't comply, we assume something is wrong with us. Nothing is wrong. Reality is just bigger than control. Why control fails during crisis? During crisis, illness, loss, disaster, the illusion collapses instantly. That's why crises feel existential. They remind us no plan is permanent, no system is invincible, no certainty is guaranteed. But crises also reveal something powerful. People who accept uncertainty recover faster than those who resist it. Resilience is not control, it's recovery. Perfectionism leads to paralysis, chronic dissatisfaction, burnout. Letting go of control restores creativity. The spiritual perspective. Illusion versus reality. Many spiritual traditions agree on one thing: control is an illusion. Buddhism calls it attachment. Taoism calls it resistance. Mysticism calls it ego. They all point to the same truth: the more you cling, the more you suffer. The more you allow, the more you align. The moment control breaks and growth begins. Most people change only when control fails: a breakup, a failure, a loss. Not because pain teaches, but because illusion breaks. That's when clarity arrives. Not happiness, clarity. And clarity is more valuable. Why acceptance is the highest intelligence. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means acknowledging reality without distortion. You don't waste energy fighting what already is. You save energy for what's next. That's intelligence. Living without the illusion practically. So how do you live without the illusion of control? You act fully, detach gently, adapt quickly, reflect honestly. You care deeply without demanding guarantees. You commit without clinging. What happens when you truly let go? When you let go of control, anxiety softens, presence increases, gratitude deepens, resilience grows. Life becomes lighter, not easier, lighter. Final deep truth. The illusion of control is not the enemy, it's a phase. We need it early in life to feel safe, but wisdom is knowing when to release it. You are not meant to dominate life, you are meant to participate in it. And participation, with humility, courage, and awareness, is the highest form of power there is.